Hello learners, welcome back to my channel Mrs.Bio-Education. This channel is all about biology and here we dive into the depths of biology. Today we are moving forward with the same chapter which is reproductive health of NCERT class 12, and today we are moving to the second topic of this chapter which is population studies. If you are here for the first time, I would suggest you to go back to the first topic before you start with this video so that you get a continuity of what we were studying in the last video. Today in this particular video, we are talking about the population studies. So in our book in NCERT, this is a section where the growth of India has been discussed in terms of population. And before we even start with the population and we start with the studies and the topic, we should know what is the study of population known as. So to emphasize on that, I would say statistical data for the study of human population is called demography. And certain parts of demography will be discussed according to NCERT in this video. So moving forward, we have to understand that in any particular country, because we are focused upon human population here, we have to understand that for any country, why is it important to study about population and especially its own population? So here we are talking about the reason to study population studies. So what we have seen in the last 20 years is that the science have developed so much, the technology has developed so much. We have seen immense growth in almost all of the fields that are present today. So due to all around development in various fields around us, we have seen that there have been an increment in the standard of the life. The quality of the life that people are living now is now much better compared to what it was 50 years back. And if we specify this for our country also, this is so true. And all of this has led to a very big phenomena which is called population explosion, meaning that suddenly the growth of the population has become so much now that the carrying capacity of the environment is affected. Means before, environment was able to support the population with the given resources, but now because we have grown so much in such a short period of time, those resources are becoming short. So let us take a look at the data, because it is what we are going to talk about, because it's the statistical point of view we are paying attention to in this video. So in the world, around 1900s, we had a population of about 2 billion people. So on the entire planet at that time, there were only 200 billion people. But we saw the increase in the technology, we saw the increase in the way people were living their lives. So now fast forward to 200 years, so come to 2000s, and we see that the world population is now a striking 6 billion, which is almost triple. Almost what? It is actually triple of what it was before. And there is only a span of 100 years. So now any guesses as to why this happened? Obviously, we just talked about it. The improved quality of life was because of improved technique all around the world. So now let's take a look at India. What is happening in India? So at the same time, we are going to take about 1950s, because this was the time our constitution was formed and officially we had to, count the people at the point. So let's take the data from 1950, at the time around our independence, and the population in India was about 350 million. And then fast forward it to again 2000, and we are taking the May of 2000, which is around 50 years. Now look at the data we obtained. It has crossed 1 billion. Now compared to the growth in the world, what we show is actually 3 times, nearly 3 times, which means that we have been growing very, very fast. Now, what were the reasons? We'll look into that. Let's move forward. So in 2024, the world population was, is estimated to be around greater than 8 billion. So if you'll Google it right now, you'll see the data is more than 8 billion, which is a lot of population if you talk about. And mind you, we are living on the same space. We are still on the earth. So the space and the place is still fixed. But the people have almost quadrupled itself in around 124 years. And the same goes for India as well. In 2024, when we recorded this data, it was about 1.14 1.44 billions, which is compared to the previous growth rate, this is a little lesser, but it is still sufficient to be the very, very big data. And if we look at the data of 2000s, we can say that every sixth person on the planet was actually an Indian. So I missed an article here, it should be an Indian. So this means that every sixth person on the planet was an Indian. But if you look at the data which we have today in 2024, we can say that approximately every eighth person on the planet is an Indian. So compared to previous data, we have improved a little bit. So it is less from before, but it is still sufficient enough to be called a lot of people. And I think India is now qualified to be as the largest or the most populated country in the world. So what are the factors that are causing this much growth? So apart from the fact that we do have much fertile land and most of our population is actually involved in the agriculture business, so we know how to grow food in large scale in very easily. But there are other reasons as well. And let us take a look at the most basics of all of those. And let's stick those reasons to population only. So for any population that can grow this much, there has to be three things that change. And the very first of it would be rapid decline in the death rate. Now, what is death rate? Death rate is actually how many people are dying per year per 1,000 individuals. So that has declined, and I would give you a minute to understand why it has declined, because we have now excelled ourselves in the field of medicine, and therefore we can now easily detect and cure a lot of diseases that we couldn't do before. So moving on to the next reason is that there is rapid decline in maternal mortality rate. Maternal mortality rate means the mothers after giving birth are usually now taken very well care of. So their death has also decreased a lot, and also the rapid decline in the infant mortality rate. So now we are not getting a lot of stillbirths that we used to get before. All of the above three reasons can be concluded are because of the increase in the medical facilities that we have and the increase in the technology that we use for those techniques. Here I'm providing you with the definition of maternal mortality rate. So it refers to the number of maternal death per lakh in live births due to pregnancy related problems, or we can say that we can actually say that the number of live birth of the baby, but mother is dead, so mother died while giving birth to the baby. So that data is actually calculated for per lakh live births, and that is what is called as maternal mortality rate. And if we look at what is infant mortality rate, so it is quite simple. When a child is not able to survive before that child has even reached his or her first birthday, we call it as an infant mortality. So death of an infant before its first birthday is infant mortality rate, and it is calculated per 1,000 individual. So there is a difference between MMR and IMR. MMR is calculated for per lakh live births, whereas infant mortality is calculated per 1,000 individuals or per 1,000 live births. Both of these data has actually contributed a lot to the growth increment in the growth rate, because all these incidences, which were yes unfortunate, but was helping to balance the population, which we now don't see. So we see the increment in the population. So if we want to calculate for any population that what is the rate at which it is growing, I want to know how fast is it growing, what is the rate actually per unit time. So we calculate it by something called as its average annual growth rate. Average annual growth rate means it is an average value, so it will be calculated according to per year. because it's an annual value, so it will be calculated per year. And average means that it's a mid value. So we might see some years that it is at the extreme ends, but mostly it will be concentrated around the mean value. And to define it, average annual growth rate is the rate at which a population grows per year. So how is this population growing fast, and what are the factors affecting it? We are going to talk all about that. And this actually has a very good mathematical formula, a mathematical, you can say, formula by which we can actually calculate it. It's actually a percent value, because growth rate is mean we are talking about percentage. So the formula is P2 minus P1 upon P1 into N, where P2 is actually the population in the present census. So the recent census data is included here, whereas P1 is the population in the previous census. So before the data that we have today, what was the data before that? That is what is taken here as P1. And N refers to the time period between the two censuses. So for India, that is around 10 years. It takes us 10 years to calculate or count the total population. So number of years between two censuses, India के लिए ये 10 साल है. It is around 10 years for India. So average annual growth rate is actually a percentage value, like I said. So if we calculate it for India, we are not putting on the data and calculating it. I'll just give you the percentage. And also in exams, it is never asked to show the calculation. You just need to remember that data. So the actual growth rate right now that India has is about 1.7%. And this is actually a little less than what it was before, because it was before around 2%. So what I'm trying to explain over here is that if we are talking about any population, so there are two things that affects the population. Number one is this, obviously the rate which I was talking about, it is on 1.7%, and the doubling time. So doubling time is another factor. Doubling time also depends upon the resources that are available at that time for the population to use. So it's in very simple terms, doubling time for any population is actually the time required by a population to double itself. Given all the factors and for growth and for all the factors for development are available. So that if it is less for any population, obviously it will grow at very fast rate. And average annual growth rate, for example, is actually for India 1.7%, like I've already stated 2 times. So let's take a look at it in the terms of number, because percentage does not give us a very good clarity about what I'm talking about here. So let's say it is about 1.7%. So let's calculate how many individuals is it. So when I say that population of India is 1.44 billion, so what does this mean? How many individuals? So what we are going to do here over here is we are going to calculate 1.7% of 1.44 billion, and that would be per year. So 1.7% means that there would be 17 people added into our population per 1,000 individual per year. Per 1,000 individual it will be that much. So for 1.44 billion, how much will it be? So let us take a look at that data over here, and it would be around something in crores, and that is what we are calculating over here. So let us write about it. 1.7% of 1.44 billion. So I'm just calculating it here for you. And this is a rough data, because please remember that all the calculations here, they are just, approximations. There are so many factors in reality that has to be counted. So this is an approximate data. This is I'm not claiming this to be the exact data. This is just an approximation, just a number to give you the idea that how many people get added, and it's a huge number. It's a huge number, and no wonder we Indians have actually nearly tripled our population in a span of 50 years only, as we were discussing before. So it is around 2,44,80,000 people per year, and that is an insane amount of people. So that is all for the part 1. I'm leaving you on a cliffhanger because I do want you all to come for the next part, which is the population studies part 2. And thank you so much for watching till last. Please subscribe to the channel, and let's meet in the next video and continue forward.